UBC is governed by the official community plan, which is the agreement between GBRD and UBC. So one of the requirements of the official community plan is that we retain certain ecological features. In the very south end of South Campus, there's a creek that really is alongside the road, underneath the road, and into the estuary, called Booming Brown Creek. And it has certain ecological value in as much that it's a small rearing ground for salmonids that are making their way to the ocean, and of course all kind of biodiverse good stuff going on. The requirement in the OCP was that we retain the ecological value of the Booming Brown Creek. So we knew that when we took the trees down in here, this was a forest, that we're going to have peak loading onto a system, Booming Brown Creek, and then we're going to have drought. So we had to do something about that. So we established the base flow in Booming Brown Creek during the summer before we took the trees down. We said that's the value that, as a minimum, that we will aim for. So we then started figuring out what are we going to do with our groundwater? Where could we keep it? Well, we could make an amenity out of it. But you can only keep so much water from November, December floods. So we decided to use the resource that's given to us under our land, which is the sands, the aquifer underneath the sands. So starting from square one, Westbrook, the plain fields that we drove past, the water runs off of the plain fields, underneath the road, maybe that's where some of our nutrients are coming from, the plain fields as well, underneath the traffic circle at 16th and Westbrook, joins in with other little streams from the housing and so on, and finds its way down into this pond. And on the right hand side, and the rocks at the far end, is where we take excess water off into a well and put it into the ground. This is Sustainability Street mega size. Wow. So what we did on Sustainability Street, we're doing here. We pull out the water, rainwater, right, keep this pond topped up. And we have a way from actually the green pipe on the far end, the green pipe, we have the ability actually to use excess water for irrigation. So we've only gone through one winter. We want to know how we're stabilizing. Go back to your basic geology. When you pump, you get a drawdown effect. We want to make sure that with these wells that we've got around here, that the drawdown on each one do not overlap. You've got the superposition of the two drawdown, and you actually start losing efficiency. So we're kind of learning, we're finding out what our base flows are, but our requirement is to make sure we've got a base flow in Booming Brown Creek. Beyond this point, we're still in buried pipe. So we're actually using the ground as our reservoir. Our ground is our detention pond. Right? If you look at it from a sustainability point of view, we're doing the right things. We're making sure that the water is filtered before it goes into the ground. You can only screw up an aquifer once, right? You bring it back out of the ground, you reutilize it. The alternative is to build surface detention ponds. And then you start putting the surface detention pond in terms of how much is that worth in real estate and what it means to the university endowment. And then you start, big detention ponds, ugly things, fences around them, all that kind of stuff. And this park was opened last September on a beautiful sunny day like this. The minute the water gushed down here, every kid for the opening ceremony went straight into that water. It's like, you couldn't keep them back. Yeah. They were throwing their shoes and socks off on the side, and they were paddling in there. Unbelievable. Even the teenagers were trying to get in there. It's unbelievable. It's just like magic. So, I mean, that's a social value. You can't even put a price on it. So it's fantastic, isn't it?